Hi, I'm Rick Caron.
I'm Colleen Neiman.
I'm Kathy Kane.
Danielle West.
From the Rotary Satellite Club of Windsor 1918 evening.
I'm Paula Talbot.
I'm Ray Fisher.
We're Paul and Phyllis Charbonneau.
From the Rotary Club of Windsor St. Clair.
I'm Myra Ford.
From the Rotary Club of Groseal.
I'm Rosemary Gross.
I'm Terry Flucci.
With the Trenton Rotary Club.
The Rotary Club of Detroit.
From the Rotary Club of Dearborn.
The Rotary Club of Harrow.
Garden City, Michigan.
Windsor St. Clair.
Windsor Roseland.
I'm a human engaging
Rotary Opportunities.
The opportunities.
A human engaging
Rotary Opportunities.
Human engaging Rotary opportunities.
Rotary Opportunities.
I'm a human.
I'm a human.
engaging in Rotary opportunities.
I'm a hero.
A hero.
A hero.
I'm 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 a hero.
And welcome to the Rotary Club meeting for San Dimas of May 12th, 2021. This afternoon, I will be your host as Diva, our president, cannot make it. So we're going to jump right in. Normally what we do first is a welcome by the president. I have just done that. I have welcomed you to the Rotary Club. I really like that video. You know, this is National Police Week and we're celebrating those heroes. But I personally think as a retired police lieutenant that every person who gives back to their community is a hero in their own way. And I sincerely appreciate your service to Rotary. Hey, Steve, how about the Pledge of Allegiance?
Yes, sir. Please join me in honoring the flag of our country. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Excellent. Thank you so much, Steve. And let's go around the wheel before we introduce our speaker. We have Megan from ServPro who's joined us. And I hope you're behind a car, Megan. Otherwise, that's the most realistic background I've seen yet.
I am in my car. I'm running routes today, so I pulled over to join you guys.
Oh, see, now I really appreciate that dedication. Thank you so much. And you, Megan is from ServPro in Glendora and San Dimas, and she is a potential Rotarian. I can see it in her eyes through those glasses. Hey, Derek, how are you doing? Introduce yourself, buddy.
My name is Derek. I'm a teacher. I live in San Dimas and happy to be here.
Excellent. And Marianne Kissler.
I am Marianne Kissler. I am a retired banker. I have been in Rotary over 25 years, and I am the current foundation chair.
Excellent. Steve Scott.
Hello, everyone. My name is Steve Scott. I'm the current treasurer of the club, past president, and I am a State Farm agent in San Dimas.
Excellent. So I'm going to take up just a moment while Mike Wallace joins us. My name is Raymond Foster. I am the president-elect and also twice past president. They give me full credit for both years now. Hey, Mike, how are you today?
I'm muted, but I'm doing great now.
And introduce yourself, please.
Mike Wallace. I am the president of Better Home Financial in downtown San Dimas. Been a Rotarian for 6 years now, past president, past treasurer, and I am happy to be here with all the guests and Rotarians today.
Excellent. Okay, so now we're going to jump right to our guest. And just so you know, John, I muted you during the intro there so that we go well, so you might want to unmute yourself. I think you were all prepared otherwise. Our guest is John Nepper. He is a motivational speaker, professional educator, and storyteller and musician. He is the creator of popular programs like Creating Peak Experiences and Beyond, The Art of Engaged Conversation, and Good Enough versus Never Good Enough. John is the go-to person when you want to charge up and electrify your life and turn your maximum potential into maximum reality. John was selected Teacher of the Year of the Kenosha Unified School District, winner of the Herb Cole Educational Fellowship Award, and has spoken for professional educators at colleges and universities and for churches and professional associations and organizations. John integrates his experiences as an educator, insight, and excitement with the concepts of building positive self-esteem, motivation, developing a positive attitude, and setting goals for success in life. John has used the strategies of the CLIMB CLIMB system for joyful living to support, encourage, and guide audience members to face and overcome the fears and challenges that keep them from living full out and living out loud in their lives. The person who is filled with passion, joy, celebration, happiness, and love is someone that John believes has connected in a deep way is his or her own ultimate self. That self that is content with who they are at any given moment. John's passion is to help people find the clarity they need to go to the next level in their own personal transformation as they pursue their greatest passions, their biggest dreams, and their true and authentic purpose in life. Welcome to the Rotary Club of San Dimas, John.
Thank you. Everybody, we're going to start at letter A. Okay, Clarence, do you play here? Yeah, we're going to do the American salute. Okay. By the way, band, the flutes have the melody here, so trombones, I know I have to say this every time, but could you please come in a little quieter? I know you'd like to play blastissimo. Yeah, we're playing American salute. I didn't think you had that piece up. Could you make sure you get that piece? Okay, here we go. And letter A, and here we go. Okay, percussionists, are you ready? I noticed you didn't come in there. You don't have your music. Okay, librarian, could you make sure the percussionists have the music? We really need to get going here. Everybody, here we go. Letter A, American salute. And we're in. Now, tell me, just in the chat or raise your hand here, what group was I conducting? I wasn't conducting you because you don't have the instruments out, but what group was I conducting? Junior high school? Good guess. High school?
Yeah, high school.
It was a group of adults, and it was a group of adults who were college students studying music to become performers. It was teachers who were my colleagues as band directors and orchestra directors. There were professors in there, and there were professional musicians in there, and I came away from that experience. I did that group with two other colleagues of mine, and we were working, we wanted to put an adult wind ensemble together because we thought it'd be a nice change to step into a group that was ready to go, that always had their music, that wasn't chewing gum in the back row, that understood how to play louder and softer, that, you know, all of those things. We thought it'd be a great experience. What I realized was those were kind of my middle school kids or my high school kids, just in grown-up bodies. And they still needed leadership, and they still needed a way to connect to me, a way to connect to the music, and a way to connect to the audience. And those are things that I really worked on. I was a professional educator for 35 years in band, choir, and orchestra. And I loved it. I learned a lot from being on the podium. And one of the things that got me on the podium, it was actually by accident, because as a junior high school student, I was going to become a professional. And I fell into teaching kind of kicking and screaming. It was like Mr. Holland's Opus, if you know that movie. Ray and I talked about that movie. And the idea was that I was going to go out and play professionally. And I ended up at home for a while because I had come back from a band I was playing with that fell apart. And it became obvious to me that there was an opening. I was doing substitute teaching, and all of a sudden I was in front of a band, and that wasn't my plan. And I kept saying, you know, I'm not in this for the long haul. And 20 years later, I realized I really was in it for the long haul. And 15 years later than that, I retired. This is for you today. If you, in your organization, if you know there's a serious disconnect, maybe in your organization, maybe you're having trouble holding on to members, maybe there's a disconnect with you and the people you work with, and you don't know how to close that gap. This is for you today too, if you are losing good people in your organization. And I know I've talked to a lot of Rotary clubs. I know that sometimes they struggle to hold on to good people for whatever reason, because life happens. This is for you today too. If you have people in your organization, either with Rotary or other places that you work and where you lead, that they're putting in minimal effort and it's causing you a lot of stress, and it's affecting the bottom line, organization profits and organization success. So that was from the Adult Wind Ensemble. What I'd like to do now is ask you a question about Johnny. Do you have a Johnny in your life? You may not know the answer to that, but I'm going to give you a quick shot at figuring it out. I was 8th grade. I had already decided I wanted to be a professional musician. I was taking lessons, and I had my first one with Johnny Hemkes. Now, Johnny Hemkes, if the United States had national treasures like Japan does, he would be a national treasure. He really would. He taught 3,000 students over his lifetime and really changed lives for people. And I was one of those. And it was my first day, my first lesson. And I was excited. I couldn't wait to get there. And I was scared. So I climbed up these rickety steps in this old building up to a second floor waiting room where the light was dim, the carpet smelled moldy, the Naugahyde furniture was kind of that lime green. And I sat down with my instrument and waited. I could hear voices and music coming through the door, and I assumed it was Johnny and the student he was giving a lesson to. And I was sure that the mom of the student getting the lesson could hear my heart beating because it was going boom. It was just pounding in my chest. I was pretty sure that it was a waterfall going from my neck down between my shoulder blades to the small of my back because I was just so nervous. Because I really wanted to make a good impression on Johnny. Johnny was a legend. I was pretty sure that when Johnny walked out the door, he was going to have to stoop and turn sideways because I thought he was 7 foot tall and about 3 feet wide. The lesson ended. I heard the boy put the trumpet back in his case, clipped the case shut. The door opened up. He walked out, someone about my age, 14 years old. And then someone walked out who was balding, who had kind of a Mr. Rogers yellow sweater on and a shirt. And I was pretty sure that was the boy's grandfather. Couldn't be Johnny Hemkes because he didn't have to stoop down or turn sideways. In fact, he fit through the door quite easily. It was Johnny. He said, "Come on in." What? Wait, what? So I walked in, I sat down, which was going to be my chair for the next 4.5 years. Johnny Wallace sat to the right. He could tell he was nervous. And here's what happened. He just tapped my knee. He said, "Listen, I'm going to call you John. You call me Johnny. We're going to get along great." Now, that's my Johnny. Do you have a Johnny in your life that did that for you in some way, that somehow connected you to what you were doing and what you felt really passionate about, or just another person that you knew cared about you? That was Johnny for me. And what I got from that clearly was that music was connection. But the thing I also got from that was that high-performance ensembles like bands and choirs and orchestras and high-performance teams and extraordinary relationships, whether it's at our work or in our clubs or in our personal life, we're all about connection. We're all about connection. And I took that lesson to heart. And that kind of became the thing that I worked on with my high-performance teams. Now, I didn't call them teams. I called them bands and choirs and orchestras. And really, to be clear, I was a band director for 35 years. I was an orchestra director for about 6. And then that changed. So essentially, I had no strings attached to my job. But I was a music director. And I learned a lot from being on the podium. So it was really about connection. And the other thing I learned is it was really about trust. The thing that directors did for me in one way or another is when I walked through those doors into the rehearsal hall, I learned that there was some element of trust or lack thereof. It depended on who was on the podium, because trust was really important. And I wanted to build that in with my musicians, that they knew they could walk into that space and they could feel good about being there. They could feel like it was a safe place to be. And they could feel like they could explore their talents and their techniques and their skills and their knowledge and not be ridiculed or put down. So it really was, to me, about trust and connection. And I like that. I like that a lot, about trust and connection. Now, I'd love to stand here and tell you that I was always that director. I was always that conductor. I always made my kids feel like there was trust and connection. I'm a human being. And so sometimes I did not. You know, I studied under oftentimes under the KA School of Conducting, the KIC School of Conducting, where the conductors were insulting, they were condescending, they were demeaning, they were harsh, they were imposing, they made people function out of fear People played well because they didn't want the retribution. One time I was a freshman at Michigan State University in the marching band, and the director was up on this tower, and he had the microphone, and someone made a mistake. God forbid, they made a mistake. And he pointed to that person, and he called them out, and he said, "What junior high school did you graduate from?" It wasn't a question of interest. It was not a question of interest. So the KA School of Band Directing. Yeah, Darth Vader. You never knew when the conductor was going to swoop down and, kind of lights every into playing the right notes. B flat, okay. So people played out of fear. And I didn't want to be that kind of leader. And hopefully, as you're leading your groups, I know that you're leaders in your own right. Even in this group here, you may not be president, although it's coming. It seems to go around, right? Right. It goes around. But I didn't want to be Darth Vader. I didn't want to wield some kind of weapon to get my kids to play well, to get my musicians to play well. Then I had the opportunity to hear Weston Noble. And Weston Noble was a tiny man. He was small in stature, but he was larger than life. And I got to tell you just quickly about Weston Noble. He came to our school district to work with the choirs. Came to work with the choir at my school. I poked my head in. Here's this little man in stature. He had 100 ninth graders who were eating out of the palm of his hand. And here's how he did it. He spoke in this really soft voice. And he looked back at the basses. He said, "Basses." He said, "That's awesome. You guys are singing great." He looked at everybody else and goes, "You should sing like the basses." Here's what the basses did. They stood taller. They were ready to go because he called them out. He pointed to another boy. He said, "Son, what's your name?" "Joe." "Hey, Joe, you really love to sing, don't you?" "Yeah, I do." Weston Noble said, "I could tell." That whole rehearsal, he spoke in a voice hardly above a whisper. But they knew, the students knew, the musicians knew that he had their best interests at heart and he loved them as human beings. Now, I'm not saying that as a leader, you gotta love the people you're leading, but he did. That was extraordinary. He came out that night for the performance. There were like 900 people in the choir. They all stood up and gave him a standing ovation for 2 minutes because they all knew that he valued their contribution. He thought it was extraordinary. He loved what they were doing, and it was just so cool. It was just so cool. And I wanted to be that leader. And sometimes I was. And the closer I got to the end of my career, I became more and more that leader. And I worked with other people in other organizations to kind of look at that too, to really be validating and acknowledging of the work that people are doing on your teams for you. Talked to this one leader, this one supervisor. She said, my people, they keep putting their heads in the sand. They keep putting their heads in the sand and they only contribute when I kind of force them to. We plugged in something I call the Trust and Connection Blueprint. And we talked about how to bring people into a different kind of listening, into a different kind of support system where they did feel like they were validated, where they did feel like what they did made a difference. Another supervisor I was talking to said, there's so much stress on me. I feel like I'm always a mediator, like I have to deal with and put this fire out and I have to put this fire out. We plugged that into the Trust and Connection Blueprint again and found out that there were ways to kind of get all the team members on board. And it's amazing what happened just by learning people's stories. Now, the person I heard that from first was a cardiologist. He always told his medical students, if you want to learn medicine, you have to learn people's stories. You have to learn people's stories. Now, I thought that was brilliant. For me, as a band conductor, as an orchestra conductor, working with people, it was going to help me be a better leader and a better musician for them by learning their stories. Now, I'm not talking about their life story. We don't have time for that as leaders. But what I'll show you in just a few minutes is how to find those stories, how to get people to step into your listening so they're sharing with you in a way that makes them feel like they matter, like they feel supported. Now, jump back just for a second into the band rehearsal. Over here, right now, the flute player has a solo. Okay? And all these other people are playing the harmony. And so they're going to be the support team. They're offering support. It's knowing when to figure out whose voice needs to be heard and what story needs to be heard and how we support that. And another thing that I learned from Weston Noble, I'm just going to back up to him for a second. One of the things that I learned from him is how much greatness are you willing to invite into your organization, into your teams. I often had my musicians come up and lead the warm-ups. I didn't need to do that all the time. But what I realized too is the more I could learn their stories, the better off it was going to be. And I created something called the Art of Engaged Conversation. The Art of Engaged Conversation. And that came from this idea of learning people's stories. Now, before we go any further, just type in the chat if, number one, you were in band, choir, or orchestra, and number two, what instrument did you play? I'm just curious. I'd like to see. And Ray and I talked. I know he's a mechanic. Yes, Megan.
I played the clarinet for 3 years in middle school.
Clarinet for 3 years. All right. Trumpet from Ray, who says he's a mechanic. I know he's a musician. Anybody else? How many of you were on sports? Okay. Mike, what sport?
I ran cross country, played soccer. Those were the two that I did the longest in high school, at least.
Lots of running. You're a better man than I am. Derek, how about you? What sport?
Water polo mostly, although I was also on the swim team.
Okay, great. So I was just talking about learning people's stories, and that's some of your story. That's some of your history. And it might help some of you to know. And Megan says softball and volleyball. Oh, okay, good. All right. So learning those stories might be helpful. I had a tubist. His name was Zach. Zach was a great kid. I looked back in rehearsal one day. Zach is feeling a little bit sleepy. I went up to him and go, "You okay?" "Yeah," I said, "Just tired, not sleeping much." Same thing the next day, same thing the next day. "Zach, you okay?" "Nah, not really." I said, "Yeah, I noticed you're really tired." I said, "What's going on?" He says, "I'm having trouble sleeping." Now I thought, okay, he's a teenager, he's having trouble sleeping. What I've actually found out, what Zach was willing to share with me, is that when he and his brother stayed at his mom's house, he felt he had to stay up all night long to make sure his brother was safe. Like either that, make sure his mother didn't abuse him, or do something like set the house on fire. That's what he brought to my rehearsals. And then I noticed something changed a little while later. He was more alert. He had lost some weight. Called him aside. I said, "Zach, things look different. It looks like you're getting some rest and you're losing weight. Looks good." He said, "Yeah." He said, "I live with my dad now." Now, I didn't tell anybody else Zach's story. That was his story. But what I did know was that I could support him. That if he needed some extra rest or some extra time or something, by knowing that little piece of it, I could be a better leader for Zach. And it's about inviting people into our listening. It's about inviting people into a space where they're talking to us, not us being invited into their listening, where we're talking. So I'm going to tell you a quick story about Tim. Tim was a percussionist. He is a percussionist. Now, I talked to the students a lot. And those of you who are leaders in whatever organization it is, you know you often have to say over and over and over a million times what the thing is. So our concert uniform was white turtleneck, black pants, black socks, black shoes. White turtleneck, black socks, black pants, black shoes. Over and over and over. Tim was this guy. Tim goes, "Yep, got it. Everybody showed up. White turtleneck, black pants, black socks, black shoes." Tim had the black shoes, had the black socks, had the black pants, had a red turtleneck. Whoops, I'm skipping a couple of things here. Sorry about that. He had a red turtleneck. He looked like Rudolph the Red-Nosed Reindeer. Seriously, looked like roof's windows ain't reading here. Tim was a little bit of a problem back in the percussion section. He was kind of a wild child. One time, he was big bass drum. Now, those of you who know, it's either a plastic head or some kind of fiber head, or it might be made out of leather. Tension points all the way around it. All of a sudden, I heard this explosion. Bam! And Tim was as white as a sheet. I went back there. I said, Tim, what happened? There was a little hole in the drum head, and I stuck my pen in it. It shattered the drum head. Now, it cost Tim about $80 to get it fixed. One time, Tim was like way off the charts, acting out just about everywhere he could. He was not only bothering the people in the percussion section, he was bothering everybody else. I finally had enough. I said, Tim, my office. We walked in there, I closed the door, I sat down, he was standing up. I said, Tim, what's going on? Nothing. Tim, really, what's going on? Nothing. Eventually, I just waited. I was silent. It was a skill I had to learn, believe me. Tim said, my mom left. I said, what do you mean? She left. She's gone. Took all her stuff. She's gone. Now I understood Tim's story. It made a difference because all I told Tim from that point is that you just take what you need today. You want to sit in here? Great. You want to join the rehearsal? That's up to you. And he did. He stayed in there. Now I can honestly tell you that after that, Tim wasn't a problem in their class. I think he understood that I supported him, I acknowledged him, and I knew what was going on. And just by knowing that much of his story, it helped me be a better leader for him. So I told you about the art of engaged conversation, and there are 3 rules that go with that. And those rules are to give up your personal agenda. Give it up. Because it's not about you in this whole art of engaged conversation. It's not about you. If you can get to the point where you're saying that and having those conversations and giving up your personal agenda, I guarantee it's going to make a difference. I guarantee it. The next one is to follow, don't lead. We may think we know where the conversation needs to go, but in an engaged conversation, we're really wanting to up-level people, like raise them to their highest potential. We have to be willing to follow them. Like, we may not know where it's going to go, but we're going to let them take us there. And the third one's really important. Don't fix. Really, don't fix. Really, don't fix. Now, as a band conductor up on the podium, if I didn't fix that B natural and it was supposed to be a B flat, the audience is going to know something's wrong. They might not be able to tell us. My mom wasn't a musician. She could go, yeah, your concert was a little off tonight. I don't know what it was. The audience knew. If I didn't fix the rhythms, or I didn't work on the balance, or I didn't make sure the soloist was heard, or that they had the right music up, I needed to fix those things. Otherwise, in engaged conversation, when you're talking with people, don't fix. There's a tendency. I'm a fixer. I know I am. I want to jump in. Well, if you just did this, how many of you, in some way in your life, are a fixer? Just raise your hand up if you're one of those. Yeah, I was in my marriage. It didn't help me any. I was a fixer, and I had to really learn to get over that. So there's this way to get people to step into your listening. And here's how it works. You have to ask open-ended questions. Closed-ended questions are like this. Did you like the movie? Yes, no. Did you like breakfast at the hotel? Yes, no. Did you like our Rotary Club guest speaker today? Yes or no. But there's nothing that follows that in a closed-ended question. In an open-ended question, you want to ask things that often relate to feelings and that are, there's Rudolph for you, or are in the form of a what question or a how question. What did you think of the movie? It invites people to explore that a little bit. How did you feel about breakfast this morning? What can you offer as a solution for our problem? How might we make that better? What and how? Now, honestly, if you're having trouble thinking about those things, it takes practice. It does. So I often have to go, okay, is that an open-ended question, or am I trying to lead somebody somewhere? Am I breaking one of the rules and I'm trying to lead them to a solution I know I can fix? Breaking 2 of the rules. And I'm not going to give up my agenda, breaking 3 of the rules. So you have to think of those things. But what questions, how questions? And I'm going to tell you there are some magic words for that to make it really easy. And there are 3 of them. And I will tell you that they are not abracadabra. They're not. What they are is tell me more. Tell me more. It's easy. Tell me more. 3 words. Or tell me. It's amazing how well it works. I was working with a group of nurses, trying to get them to understand that if they wanted to be better nurses, they needed to understand their patient stories. So we were just doing a fun exercise about what their favorite food was. Tell me what your favorite food is. I did it with a nurse. She was great. She played along. Pizza. I said, great. Tell me more. Well, I love the flavors, and great. Tell me more. Well, my mom made it every Saturday night. Great. Tell me more. Well, it was something that we really looked forward to. The family was all together, and we had such a good time. I have such fond memories of that. Look at how much information I found out from her just in that whole idea of tell me more. 3 magic words. So whether you somehow become a great conductor in your own right or a great leader in your own right, if you can remember just those 3 words, it will give you tools and tips that you can use to create better relationships, to really bring your team together, to kind of, the more you understand about the people you're working with and working for, it's going to help you be a better leader. So if you can remember, tell me more, it's great. It's easy. If you can ask open-ended questions, people are going to share their stories. And trust me, people have stories right now. Right now, especially. They're either dealing financially with difficulties, maybe they can't make their mortgage payment, lost a job, maybe they are dealing with recovering from COVID, or they knew somebody who had it, or they lost somebody. So people's stories matter, and if you can find a way to say, tell me more, you are going to up-level your high-performance teams, you are going to up-level people to their highest potential, and you really have a chance to create some extraordinary relationships in the process. And the last thing I want to say is that high-performance ensembles, bands, choirs, orchestras, high-performance teams, extraordinary relationships are not created by accident. They're created by positive intention.
That was fabulous, John. Thank you so much. You know what I'd like to do is I want to move forward in our meeting and give time at the end so we'll know exactly how much time for questions. Can you hang out with us for about 10 or 12 more minutes?
Sure, absolutely.
Excellent. So I want to move forward and make sure we get all our stuff done. We'll come back to John. Hey, so Casey, you know what? It's your turn. You're the fine master, buddy.
Glad to have a turn. Let's have some positive intentionality as we impact the world around us by fining ourselves. Remember, a fine is simply a way for you to indicate that you'd like to speak. So if you have something you'd like to share this morning, find yourself, talk about what's fine, what's not fine, or somebody else in the world that's fine, and I pass it off to you.
Well, who's going to go? Don't make me go first. I'm going to go first, Mike. Is he pointing at me? I'm going to find myself $50. $50. Everybody's falling back. Okay, so I have 5 children and 6 grandchildren. I've purchased more than 35 cars in my life, but each of those cars has been for some purpose. It's to get to work. It's to transport the Suburban so I can get to the recital and the sports field and all the stuff I had to do. Well, I, Sunday, purchased a car for me. And I made my grandsons jealous. All of my children are jealous. And I finally have a car for me. And I am thrilled to death. And I deserve it. So that's my $50. They're worth $50, Casey?
Tell us more, Raymond. What'd you get?
I got a Kia K5 GT Sport Redline Series, top of the line sports series sedan. So it doesn't look like a midlife crisis. It looks like a sedan hiding a midlife crisis, but it's an awesome car, and I'm just thrilled.
Congratulations, Raymond.
Awesome, Raymond. We see your $50 and invite somebody else to find themselves. What's fine? What's not fine? Who else is fine? How do you want to talk?
Mike unmuted himself.
I'll go if nobody else is going. I am going to find myself $20 because I was not able to make the meeting last week. Something came up short notice, and I had to address that right away. So I apologize for not making it, and I will pay my $20 fine.
You are back in fine standing, Michael. Somebody else. I'll fine Derek $5 for having a board meeting tonight that I'm going to go speak at or be a part of. I celebrate the movement of the Education Foundation, and we continue to partner with good people like the Rotary. So I'm just putting that hat on that the Education Foundation will be speaking tonight at the board meeting, and Derek has been an instrumental part of both the foundation as well as our Rotary. So it's kind of a, Derek, you are fine, and I'm fining myself $5 to tell you that those organizations are doing great together.
And on that note, I'll find myself $5 just because I get to see you a second time today. And I definitely appreciate all the work you do for our community.
Okay, thank you very much, Casey. I appreciate it. You know, we ought to find John, because I caught that punt. He was in a band with no strings attached. Oh, that was bad, man. That was terrible.
I'm going to echo that. I caught it. I just wasn't going to pick it back up.
So, you know, we don't have fast craft talk today, but Action 360, we've got 2 projects coming up right now. House of Ruth, by the way, is a done deal. Great project, $6,000 in goods and services that were delivered by us about a week and a half ago. It's excellent. Making Spirits Bright, that is the project to provide 100 Marine Corps enlisted families Christmas gifts at 29 Palms Marine Corps Base. That's moving ahead at warp speed. We've worked with Eric Weber, the city councilman. It looks like we're pretty close to getting a veterans charity hockey game going sometime probably in September, a 3,000-seat arena. I've got all of the California Masons on board for this. So I think we're going to be able to raise $15,000 or $20,000 for Making Spirits Bright. Excellent project coming up. May 22nd is our site visit for Crossroads Incorporated. Wayne Schmidt from the Masonic Lodge has gone out, and Home Depot in Pomona has committed to providing most of the material to allow us to paint and rehab that Craftsman single family and the duplex that's on the lot. So the site visit is on May 22nd. We'll meet at the lodge at 10 a.m. and we're going to go over to the place in Pomona, take a look at it, and see what we're going to need, supplies and volunteers, so that in a weekend we can create a place of opportunity for 6 women, and I think it's 8 women will live there, transitioning out of prison. So that'll be an excellent thing. Let's move into the calendar real quickly, and I got to put it on the screen for everybody. We just got dynamite speakers coming up. John is really teeing us off for the summertime, but as you can see here, it'll be, oh, by the way, Dima wanted me to say we do have a board meeting tomorrow night at 6 p.m. And then on the 19th, Haynes Family of Programs. We're going to go into Coral Reef Environment, Trickster Cultural Center for Native American veterans. And you can just see the schedule is all the way now through September 8th with speakers. So make sure you start to share that information, because I know Derek's got 2 potential Rotary Club members on the hook, and I really want him to share the calendar so they can get really excited. And that brings us to Mr. Mike Wallace, who's going to give us the 4-way test.
Actually, I think I'm going to jump in and do that today, Raymond.
Are you? Oh, you got.
Yeah, Mike has passed the baton for a week.
Oh, there you go. That's on the screen for you. Go, Steve, go.
Okay, so for those of you who don't know, the 4-way test is something that was created many, many years ago by the Rotary. And if you think about the questions involved in this test and use those when you are forced to make really any decision, but more specifically a difficult decision, think about these questions, implement them. I've learn that it has incredible value in my life, and I hope others do as well. So it reads, the four-way test of the things we think, say, or do. Is it the truth? Is it fair to all concerned? Will it build goodwill and better friendships? And will it be beneficial to all concerned?
Thank you so much, Steve. So that is, before we go back to John, does anybody have anything for the good of the Rotary Club they want to bring up? John, I have a question for you. Go ahead. All right. So what really touched me in what you said was the don't come up with a solution thing. Don't try to fix the problem. That, I got to say, I don't know where I learned that, about 10 years ago. That improved my marriage like a tremendous amount, to stop myself from offering a solution. How do you stop yourself is what I'm asking. How can you help us when somebody's talking to us, immediately seeing a solution for them rather than listening to what's really going on?
Well, that's a really great question. And I think this came out on Facebook a while ago. There was this meme that said, listen and silent have exactly the same letters. I thought, wow, I think the biggest thing, honestly, and I had to learn the same lesson in my marriage, and I had to learn it, like in a lot of different places. Stop talking, like really stop talking, and not even, they talk about active listening sometimes, like, oh, so you're saying this, or I hear you saying this, which is not a bad thing. But I had an experience once. I was with a woman, I asked her a question. We were dating at the time, and she didn't answer. And I went, okay, so I waited, and I waited, and I waited, and I really thought she either forgot the question or she fell asleep. And I don't know what it was, Ray, that made me wait. But I knew that my silence allowed her to come up with some sort of answer, allowed her to figure out what she wanted to say, how much she could trust me. And I find sometimes the biggest thing is to just stop talking. Just really stop talking. There's a video that I love that I would use if I could buy the rights to it, but I'll tell you all what it is. It's called It's Not About the Nail. And you should go on YouTube and find it. It's about 1 minute and 40 seconds long. And this woman's talking and she's got a nail in her forehead. And the guy wants to fix it. Like, well, if you just pulled out the nail. See, there you go again. You're always trying to fix it. Well, okay. And he stops talking. And, she can't sleep. It's fraying her sweaters, all kinds of things. And ultimately they kiss and he bumps the nail and he goes, ow. He goes, if you would, it's really a great little video. It's called Not About the Nail. And it's a good one to watch. You get a chuckle out of it, but it really brings the point home about just really not fixing.
Excellent. Other questions for John?
Not as much a question as a comment, John. Talking about active listening and asking open-ended questions, to me, what really resonated is I think most people, I'm certainly guilty of it, really seek and desire validation. And one of the best ways to validate people is by listening to what they have to say. And so I appreciate what you said, because I think whether it's in business or in personal relationships, allowing somebody else to get off their chest whatever it is by asking questions and paying attention to what they say is a really, really valuable tool for people to use.
I think so too. I can't see your name. I'm sorry. It's just a telephone number.
Steve.
Steve. Yeah, I agree. And I really think it's kind of human nature, but we crave that validation. Like, we really want to know that what we're doing is being noticed and having value. And if we're always creating noise and other people's talking or whatever, we don't get a chance to do that. We don't get a chance to really validate them.
Right.
Other questions or comments for our guest speaker, John Nepper, on trust and connection?
I have a question that's a little off topic, but as some of my questions sometimes are, but as a band director, musician, choir director, people who enjoy singing but are not good at it, is that something that can be learned and people will improve over time? or if you're not good at singing, should you just maybe listen instead?
Okay, so first of all, Mike, I'm the eternal optimist. I truly believe that at whatever level you want, you might not make it to professional level. Like my girlfriend loves to sing, and she said it must be horrible for you, having such a trained ear. I'm like, no, because she sings because she loves it. So would I ever tell her she needed to take lessons? I asked her one time if she wanted to, and she said she really would, and consider taking lessons from my daughter. One of my favorite private students was when I was a junior and senior in college. He was an 80-year-old man, and he had played trombone when he was 19 or 20, and he wanted to pick it up again. And he was never going to be an all-star, but he loved it. And I would say one of the best things is find a teacher that you resonate with. And again, that was really one of my crowning moments when I look back. This one girl, she loved to sing, but she couldn't find a pitch to save her life. I mean, it was frustrating for her, I know, but we worked on it. And there was one thing I said to her. It wasn't like I was a great singing coach, but I said this one thing to her. She goes, "Oh, you mean that's all I have to do?" I said, "Try it." And all of a sudden she was matching pitch and singing with what the rest of the people in her section were singing. And it was a major breakthrough. It was like this little download, but I would say find a coach, a teacher that you resonate with, and go for it.
Or stay in the shower. That's maybe the best thing.
John, a quick question that again might be off topic, but it's on your presentation, which was fabulous.
Thank you.
What lens are you using? I liked how you did your presentation and had the screen shift like PowerPoint, but it kept you live. What filter are you using to do that? I haven't seen anybody do that yet.
It's a beautiful thing. It is called Ecamm Live, and it's a live streaming. It's only for Mac users right now. There's also something called OBS. I don't know what that stands for, but that's a cross-platform thing. But Ecamm Live is really, I love it. The live streaming, I can be fully on screen and have this little thing pop up. And it's not like Zoom where you have this little tiny thing in the corner where I disappear, because I still want to be connecting with you. And Ecamm allows me to do that. It's just ECAMM.
Awesome. And I affirm, John, you and I have a lot of similarities in our approaches, our lens. We've read the same books. We've had many overlapping experience. Well done today. I loved how you captured it and kept us engaged.
Thank you. Thank you very much. So let me ask you, Ray told me that there was a life coach in the group. Is that you?
Ray doesn't take my advice, so I don't know if I'm really coaching people, but yeah, that's me.
Okay. Yeah. Pleasure meeting you today. Thank you.
Well, thank you so much. Are any other questions? Hey, Megan, you had something you wanted to talk about ServPro's got going on, so why don't you just unmute yourself and shout out? Unless you're driving. Or I can go in here. Hang on, let me open up the chat, see if I can get it out here. ServPro is hosting a fundraiser for Lisa Ann Roosh Byrne Foundation. If you'd like information on donating, you can email Megan at megan@servprogsd.com. Did I get everything, Megan? Did I butcher some names? Great presentation, she says, by the way, John. Final questions for John? All right.
Sorry, my internet. Can you hear me now?
Well, I think you've got a poor connection there. Hey, so I really appreciated John today. If you'd like more information about John and having him speak for your group, he is at johnnepper.com. That is JOHNNEPPER.com. John is a motivational speaker, and we very much enjoyed having him today at the San Dimas Rotary. Thank you, everybody, and have a great rest of your week.
Thank you, Raymond.
Bye, everybody. Pleasure to be here.